Hello, everyone. Hello, hello, hello. Oh my gosh, I have missed you. Goodness, it's been a couple of weeks? Whatever. It's all good. Listen, if you just tuned in, welcome to the InEarthgie Show. I am your host, Chi Smith. I really have missed you guys. A lot has happened in 14 days. It's amazing what life could happen in just one day, but definitely 14 days. But listen, we have a special treat for you guys today, a very special treat. And I really want to say thank you for tuning in. You guys know here at the InEarthgie Show, we're all about balance. We're about bringing balance to an unbalanced lifestyle. And not only that, we do ask that you bring pen and paper. Why? Because we learn here at the InEarthgie Show. It is all about knowledge, clarity, wisdom, understanding. And what better way than to start the beginning of your week with some information that you can plug and play into your own personal life. You guys know what we say here. We get it for us first so that we can give it to others, and allow others to give it to others. Then it becomes a domino effect. I'm just saying, listen, we're all here. We're all one big family. So what better way than for you to get it right here at the InEarthgie Show and then give it to somebody else. Let's get started, guys.
She's sugary, she's spice. She is everything plus nice. Take her one-on-one class and she provides the best advice. She'll take you down to the trenches, but only to lead a new way. Only for the sake of you and your legacy to establish a new day. Let's give a warm welcome to the chief reprimander and the supreme hugger, Chi Smith.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the InEarthgie Show. I am your lovely host, Chi Smith, and I am excited. Listen, for real, y'all know how we get down here every Tuesday night, every Tuesday night, 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, 7:30 Eastern. Listen, grab your babies, grab any family member that may be near you, pop open a laptop, pull open your cell phone, whatever you got, okay? Because tonight we have a special treat. And listen, I'm taking this personal because I know this special guest and I have been around this person for, I believe, almost 3 years, almost as long as InEarthgie has been in existence. So definitely share, like. You guys know what to do in our comment section. Let us know where you are tuning in from. We love to celebrate our audience. We so appreciate who you are. It is because of you that the InEarthgie Show is what it is every single week. We need listeners. We need those who are tuning into this broadcast because it's live. Listen, y'all know if Chi not here, it ain't live. So you can always go back and catch the replays, of course, because it would absolutely be beneficial to you. But listen, I give you guys a live show because I want you guys to feel that real energy, okay? It's live, it's fresh off the press, and it is real, and it is truly transparent. So listen, guys, today, we have a special guest. Again, we're here about balance. And what better way to talk about balance back into our communities, right? There is a long history behind what we're going to be discussing today with our special guest. And I believe in this day and time, we need to be educated again or reintroduced again to this particular practice. You guys know, with myself being a wellness care coach, it is all about the whole person, right? You have to be whole. And in order to be whole, every aspect of your life has to be whole. And a lot of times we're not whole because we are lacking information. As we know, it says, though people perish because of lack of knowledge. So we want to bring some knowledge to you guys today. We want to reintroduce this particular practice to many of you today. Many of you may know about this particular practice. Many of you this may be new to you. You may have some family members that are getting ready to experience such, and you would want to consider this particular practice in your family. So without further ado, let me introduce to you Dr. Doula Lelani Grant. Hey, Lelani.
Hi, how are you?
I am awesome. How are you, dear?
I'm wonderful. I'm so excited to be here with you.
Listen, it's amazing, and we're going to have a lot of listeners tuning in today. You and I met like I want to say like in 18, and
Yes.
I still don't really know how we cross the paths, but I believe all things are divine. And
Yes.
nevertheless, when I met you, you were a doctor indeed, and your expertise, your knowledge, just blew me away. And I feel that there was a connection because of my background. Again, as you know, I'm a wellness care coach where I offer therapeutic services and solutions. And I believe at the time that we met, I had the solutions at the time and hadn't yet incorporated the services. And so, with that, thank you so much for the opportunity to partner with you in these previous years up to date. And look, now we're here doing this. So,
Yes.
what I want to share with the world is, guys, Dr. Lelani Grant is a real doctor.
Yes, not MD.
In
Not
my
MD.
in my in my head.
Yeah,
In my
not
head.
MD.
But Miss Lelani Grant is indeed a doula.
Yes.
And if you don't know what a doula is, it is very imperative that we unpack that on tonight. Understand what a doula is, what a doula's role is in a family, and why would someone in this time think
Yes.
about not only creating a family, but incorporating a doula in their family in such a time as this, as we call a pandemic, i.e., COVID-19.
True. So for those who are not aware, well, first let me start with a brief introduction. Again, my name is Dr. Lelani Grant. I am a certified doula and owner of Silver Linings Birth and Doula Services. You can find me across all social media under Silver Linings BDS, The Good Doula on Instagram, or on my website, www.silverliningsbirthanddoulaservices.com. A doula is a woman. Now, men are becoming doulas, but prehistoric days, a doula is a woman who provided continuous support during pregnancy, childbirth, and postpartum. And she was mainly there for the mother, but times have changed where doulas are now servicing the entire family. We know that the mortality rates for mothers is very high. In 2017, the World Health Organization reported that 810 women die a day from preventable incidents in pregnancy and postpartum. And so the call for doulas have gone out, and there are more women entering the field. It is becoming well known to have a doula assist you not only in home birth. A lot of people feel that doulas are just if you want to go natural or have your baby at home, but a doula can support you through anything dealing with reproduction, anything, even miscarriages and stillbirths. We have bereavement doulas, we have fertility doulas who are there to assist you in your fertility journey. And then we have the traditional birth and postpartum doula who are there to assist you during pregnancy and birth, and then the postpartum period, which is just as important as the pregnancy and childbirth period. So that is what I am passionate about. It is a passion of mine. Along with education, again, I'm a doctor of education, so I believe in informing and educating those to make great decisions or better decisions. So what I do is a culmination of two of my passions. I would teach and help assist women in childbirth for free. And so I am passionate about getting the information out there. You should not give birth without a doula, regardless if you're at a birth center, a hospital, or at home. You should not give birth without a doula, without the education support from a doula to you and your partner. Now with COVID, hospitals are very strict when it comes to visitors and having a doula with you. A lot of doulas cannot attend your birth with you now because of the pandemic or the transmission of COVID-19. But that does not limit the support that a doula can give you in pregnancy and postpartum. The postpartum period is very, very, very important. We should not discount it. It is called the fourth trimester. And so many times we're focused on pregnancy and the baby shower and then having the baby, but not what happens after giving birth. Because there are many complications. There are 4 complications that women die from, and 3 of them happen postpartum. That's hemorrhaging, that's infection, that's just complications from birth. 3 out of the 4 happen in the postpartum period. So doulas are now just as prominent in the postpartum period as they are in pregnancy and childbirth. Again, you should not give birth without a doula. You shouldn't have done it back then. You definitely, definitely should not give birth without a doula now.
Oh my gosh. You just tuned in to the InEarthgie Show. I'm your host, Chi Smith, and we have Dr. Lelani Grant here with us, speaking to us, providing us knowledge about how important a doula is in your life, whether you have a family member, whether it's you that's considering starting a family.
Yes.
Listen, it is not uncommon for us to see people starting again, right? First, second, third, maybe marriages or just relationships, and you got 2 people that are coming together to create a family. You want to consider a doula on every end.
Yes.
And you said a lot in your introduction, and I want to kind of go back to a couple of things. One of them, you mentioned men. So I think oftentimes the stigma is when we think of doula, we first think about women. We don't think too much
Yes.
about men being in that space. Talk to us a little bit about that, because I don't think we're seeing that, and I know that they're out there, but kind of help us understand. There are a lot more men in this space than we think.
Yes, so men are entering the space as doulas, supporting women just like women do in birth. It is no different than having a male obstetrician or gynecologist, that they can provide the same continuous support during your pregnancy and labor. But they're integral to our partnering or identifying with the male partner that you're having. When a couple has a child, the most of the focus is on the mother because her role is very, very visible. So now with the male doulas coming in, their focus on the few that I've seen seem to be on the father and how the father can be integral or provide support to their partner in birth. Of course, that we're all trying to be inclusive. We know that families are looking different than they did before. So male and female doulas are just reshaping the way things are being held due to the pandemic. Also, just how our society is changing. I see that the trends are moving away from the medical model of having a child or giving birth to a more holistic approach. And that's where doulas are very, very integral, because we stay with you when the labor and delivery team and your obstetrician have moved on to the other birth. Then your doula is with you pre-pregnancy, childbirth, postpartum, follow-up care, linking you with resources that you may need. Some women need pelvic therapy, some women need massage therapy, some women need clinical therapy due to postpartum depression and anxiety. That is where your doula is most important. And again, no woman, if that's the only thing that you remember, no woman should not give birth without a doula, especially minority women or those coming from low income served populations, because those are the ones that have the high mother mortality rates. Our mothers are dying in childbirth. Contrary to belief, it is still happening in 2021. And that's where your doula can advocate for you, can connect you with resources if needed, just go that extra mile for you, where your obstetrician or gynecologist, they're just limited as to what it is that they can assist you with. Your doula is there as an additional part of your childbirth team.
Oh my gosh. That's amazing. Guys, if you just tuned in, thank you for tuning in to the Chi Show. I'm your host, Chi Smith, your wellness care coach here. Guys, oh my goodness. This is great information and it's well needed. And again, many of us are just now learning about doulas tonight. And then some of us are being reintroduced to it, and or we are just such advocates. I believe we've got some listeners on here tonight that are advocates. You know, maybe they may be doulas themselves, and
Yes.
or they received a doula, right? They were a doula, they had a doula going through their process. And so we just got finished speaking about the men being in the space, it not necessarily being a stigma of women being in the space, but also men, again, to your point, transitioning with different families, what they look like in today's time. So we need, pretty much all hands on deck, anyone who has a passion in this space, and you really care for families, you care for the prerequisite, if you will, of this entire experience, throughout the experience, and then post experience, is absolutely, we need people, and let's just be clear, we need people who look like us in this space. And so, with that being said, let me bring this up because you mentioned teaching. You're a lover of education, and so am I. And I believe that's one of the things we also had in common. There's just so much knowledge that we both had, in the space of sciences or healthcare and medical industry altogether. And so again, with myself being a wellness care coach and having a background in the healthcare industry and have seen it, been in the different institutions, seen all type of aspects, knowledge, doulas bring knowledge to families that they may not know, i.e. the condition of how maybe a family needs to look, and or the condition of the mother that's carrying, how important it is for them from a nutrition perspective, from a stress-free environment. Support. Talk to us a little bit about that. How important is that when you're walking into a family and needing to understand, that dynamic?
So the first step in preventing the high rates or reducing the high rates of MMI is prenatal care. And your doula is there to assist you in supporting you through your prenatal journey, whether that's attending appointments with you, answering any questions that you have before the appointments. A lot of mothers have a plethora of questions, and sometimes the appointment is maybe 10-15 minutes. Hey, how are you doing? How's the baby moving? You may get an ultrasound and then you're on your way. And sometimes there's not enough time due to the constraints of either the practice, just how many patients your OBGYN has, but your doula is there to assist you in answering any questions, supporting you in the appointment by attending the appointment with you. Also, supporting you in advocating for yourself. There are many women now wanting to try for a vaginal birth after cesarean. As we know, cesarean rates have increased dramatically, and they're finding that these cesarean rates are increasing for no medical reason. Cesareans they're a part of birth because not all births go as planned. There's sometimes that there's maternal distress, there's fetal distress, and then there's a need for cesarean. So having a birth by cesarean does not mean that you can't achieve your silver lining. But the research is showing that the rates of cesarean are increasing dramatically, and they're not always due to maternal or fetal distress. And so the adage is, once you've had a cesarean, you cannot have a vaginal birth. That is now changing. Doulas are now helping mothers to advocate and say, hey, I would like to try for a vaginal birth after cesarean, which is called a VBAC. We all know that the recovery time from a vaginal birth is shorter than a cesarean birth because a cesarean birth is abdominal surgery. There's a higher risk of infection to the mother and the baby versus the vaginal birth. There's a lower risk. And so when a mother is advocating or trying to encourage her doctor to allow her to try to have a vaginal birth after a cesarean, a doula is very integral in not only assisting with evidence-based practices, but also research and facts to present to the doctor to say, hey, these are the things that I believe can encourage me to have a VBAC. And so doulas are, that's something that we in the community have taken on because we see so many women dying postpartum, and that's due to cesarean births. There's a higher rate of blood clots, DVTs, high rates of infections, hemorrhaging after birth. And so there's no correlation between why is there such a dramatic increase in cesareans and then maternal and fetal distress. There's no correlation that has been shown in the research. So those on the ground are getting the knowledge out to mothers that just because you've had one cesarean doesn't mean that you cannot, in your subsequent births, you cannot deliver vaginally. And I see a very, very big push from mothers who are coming out and saying, hey, I'm seeing the information. This is what I want to do because the recovery looks different. The empowerment or the power that the woman feels for delivering vaginally for those who have done it. It's like climbing Mount Everest and you come out feeling just strong and ferocious. And that is what doulas are encouraging mothers to tap into and advocate for themselves, and also not putting their health at unnecessary risk by electing to have a cesarean or being pushed or highly encouraged to have one just because you had one before.
Wow. I'm stunned. And I keep saying wow every time you speak, but it's really from the core, because oftentimes, I've been in a number of conversations to where I've heard many women say, oh, well, my first pregnancy was a cesarean, so I know I got to do it again.
Yes.
And perhaps they were informed, by different, medical professionals that is the only way that it can happen again.
Yes.
For delivery. That's a bit hurtful, yet it is uplifting to know that you can still have a vaginal delivery, even though you've had a cesarean. Now, I will be truly thankful that I had both my babies vaginally, and to your point, recovered very quickly.
Yes.
But again, not everyone in my family, not everyone in my tribe, in my network, and those that I meet alike have that same testimony. So that's major. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And so a doula, again, in her preparation for birth, most doulas offer childbirth education classes going over the stages of labor. And then that's when that conversation can happen to let them know that, hey, it is still a choice. Of course, you want to work with your medical professional, but it shouldn't be taken off the table just because you happen to have had a cesarean the first time or the second time. There are some mothers having a VBAC on the third or fourth pregnancy. And so we never want to discount what the medical professional is saying. We just want to offer education and alternatives and helping a mother make informed choices. You want her to always have the education and knowledge to make an informed choice as to how she wants her birth to go. Because it is her birth story. It's her and her partner's birth story, and it is the introduction of her child to the world. And we should have a say as to how that happens. Some mothers have lights and candles and songs, and, water births now are very, very common. We see things that were abnormal, they have now become the new normal. But some things never change, and that's education, making informed choices for your body, for your family, for yourself. A woman's choice is not just limited to whether she terminates a pregnancy. It's even how she wants her birth to go, who she wants to be there supporting her. Even in COVID, there are still some choices that a woman has. Yes, with the transmission of COVID, we want to take all precaution. But home births are still not off the table. Doulas and midwives are out here on the front lines delivering babies safely at home, in a non-traditional manner. When I say non-traditional, we're talking about not at a hospital. Birth centers are still full, home births are still happening. Babies are still being born during a pandemic. It's just the face of giving birth has changed, and it is continuing to change. The more educated we are, the more conversations we have about the options that are out there. And that's the role of a doula, to get the options out there, to get the information out there, to get the knowledge out there so we can make informed choices.
Oh gosh. I love it. I love it. And and I'm such an advocate, and I've always known about doulas. But I will say, perhaps maybe the reason why I didn't choose the option is, and I would love for you to speak to this, is because, maybe cost comes up, right? And
Yes.
within families, whether it is an expected planned pregnancy and or unexpected. And I think in today's time, and for a number of years, right, we have insurance that we're dealing with, right? And so,
Right.
let's say, and I want to talk about this even further, because you are part of a great organization that's happening, and taking care of teen moms. And so, what do you say to a family who, to your point, you just mentioned low income families, low income moms, with maybe low birth, experiences. I have to understand, and I have to believe that cost is an issue, because nowadays you can use X insurance,
Yes.
I won't name them all, but X insurance, go get quote unquote free care or whatever type of care, and there's no money at your pocket. I think oftentimes when people think about doulas, maybe they think that the expense is at a rate that they can't afford. So hence they will forfeit a healthy pregnancy because of that particular stigma. Can you speak to that?
Sure. So we know that socioeconomic status is it also contributes to mortality rates in mothers. We know that there's medical biases from women who come in who are impoverished or coming from low impoverished communities. And so yes, cost is associated with not having a doula, because doulas are not currently covered by HMOs. There is a push in different states to get doulas covered by Medicaid. And I know for the state of Florida, where I'm from, that is a big push. There are some Medicaid carriers who reimburse or will cover a doula up to a certain point. But the retort is, the same way you request or make a list for your baby shower to include your doula services to be covered also. It could be gifted to you. What better gift than to give a mother than the services of a doula? The same way you give clothing and diapers and strollers, then why not give the services of continuous support to a mother? So I see my soror in the chat, Tamika, she's listed Stork's Nest education program of the Kappa Zeta chapter Zeta Phi Beta. That is an awesome program for first-time moms and teens that we provide education and support to teen moms here in the greater Dallas area. Again, that's the Stork's Nest education program. You can find any information on that in our chapter Facebook page, website. Again, it's the Kappa Zeta chapter of Zeta Phi Beta here in greater Dallas. And so the Stork's Nest program can assist with education, also with doulas. Your families can. A lot of doulas, when you are passionate about the work that you do, I believe that your gifts make room for you. There are many, many doulas who take mothers on sliding scales, payment plans, because the need to see you make it through birth supersedes any financial gain that we can ever have. I'm very passionate about this because the day after I gave birth, I buried a friend who passed away a week before I gave birth. She and I were due around the same time. And so I went into my labor knowing that my friend passed away giving birth to her son, and I was getting ready to give birth to my son. And so that propels me or compels me that if a mother reaches out to me and say, I only have this much, many mothers reach out and are very anxious to give birth. They're very not knowledgeable. When you go in, there's a lot of questions being asked of you. There's a lot of poking and prodding. And when you have doula, as a doula who had a doula, she was my voice. She was like, no, she doesn't like that. This is how she wants it to go. So you feel safe and secure while you're in such an uncertain time. And so cost is a factor. There is a movement to get doulas covered by insurance. But of course, we know that's a long road ahead. But I do believe that it will happen because the research and the information is showing that the support that doulas provide is integral to not only pregnancy and childbirth, but to postpartum care, to have that continuous support post-birth. As we know, the signs of postpartum depression and psychosis happens post-birth. And if you have someone there to maybe say, hey, what is going on with you? How are you feeling? How are you engaging not only with the baby, but back in your life? How are you taking time for yourself? We're pushing self-care, but we all know that mothers are the last ones to take care of themselves. And so a doula is there to remind you to, hey, take a break, take care of yourself, get back to who you are now, not only as a mother, but as a woman who has given birth and survived. Because many, many women are walking around with trauma stories from previous births. And so there's a doula there to say, hey, let me connect you with services that you may need. I see some things, I hear some things coming from you. Let us discuss it. A lot of doulas are taking counseling courses to be more versed or well versed in offering, counseling advice, spotting the signs of postpartum depression, and even postpartum psychosis. That is the extreme form of postpartum depression. But doulas are doing all that they can to become knowledgeable, to become educated on reproductive health, what happens in the fertility journey, in the pregnancy journey, in the childbirth journey, and now the postpartum journey.
I love all of that. I love all of that. Guys, if you just tuned in, welcome to the InEarthgie Show. I am your host, Chi Smith, your wellness care coach. We have here Dr. Lelani Grant, who is a doula here in the DFW Metroplex. And listen, she covers the nation. Okay, so let's not just limit her to the state of Texas. Okay, she can travel. Yes. I am sure her services reach nationwide and maybe international. No? Yes?
Maybe. Shout out to the 242.
Love that. But, and so a part of this conversation, again, even with my knowledge, it is just very imperative for our families to consider doulas. Again, I've said it since the beginning of this show, and I'll continue to stretch the message across until the end, because you want to consider, if you have a family member, if you have a niece, if you have a cousin, if you have a granddaughter, if you have a close family friend and a daughter that confides in you and doesn't even confide in their parents, listen, those days are still not uncommon. If you know the secret, if you know the information, you want to be sure to share the information about how imperative it is to have a doula a part of the planning process. Again, you just heard Dr. Lelani share this information, that they will create the right plan for you, whatever that looks like, and also alter it as time progresses. They are here for you. They are here to serve you. The doula community is all about you, your safety, your well-being, your overall well-being, to ensure that not only is mommy happy and healthy, but also baby is happy and healthy. And I love what you are doing in the community. I love what you're doing nationwide, the information that you're sharing, that teaching is so important. Let's see, we have a statement. Let's see. Is it possible to partner with an OBGYN office that can help offset costs that may not be covered under insurance? That's a question from Ms. Keisha.
Keisha, very good question. It is possible. There are doulas that work with, they're not necessarily a member of the team, but they work with OBGYNs. But again, because they are not all under or covered under HMO policies, PPO policies. Most times, most mothers pay out of pocket. What doulas are recognizing is because there's such a need in all diverse communities, there are many doulas who will take on pro bono births a year. They will take on so many pro bono births a year. There are many doulas that offer payment plans. There are many doulas that, again, their passion supersedes the need for financial gain. Of course, you want to make a living at what you're passionate about, but I do believe that your gifts make room for you. Unfortunately, where we are when it comes to managed care, doulas are not currently covered by insurance. That is changing in states, not all states. There are some states that will do a reimbursement, meaning the mother will pay and then the insurance will do a reimbursement. Sometimes it's for the full price, sometimes it's for a portion. So there are some changes as far as HMO care or managed care, but it is not widespread. It is not national or even international. As far as I know, as of today, most doulas are paid out of pocket. It is an out of pocket expense. But again, the challenge is if you can request gifts and necessities on a baby shower registry, add doula services as a gift to a mom. It is just as important as everything else that is listed on there. Even more so important.
You guys heard that. Put it on the wish list.
Put it on the wish list. Yes. Yes.
That's important. So, okay. So, wow, a lot of great information. We know that everyone may and or may not understand the importance of alternatives. Listen, I'm a woman of options. I love to know what options are in front of me. Hence why I am in the health and wellness industry. So a couple of things. One, again, we talked a little bit about, nutrition, how healthy the mother is before and or during the pregnancy. But then also, understanding the overall health and wellness after the pregnancy. And you mentioned earlier about, partnering with a lot of counseling services, a lot of counseling organizations. And I'm glad you brought that up because a lot of clients that I have seen myself that have come to receive counseling services are yet still dealing with anxiety and depression. And it came from postpartum. It was, the support maybe that they didn't have after the birth, or maybe the birth was so traumatic, maybe they didn't have a doula. A lot of them did not have a doula, so the entire experience was traumatic. Maybe the relationship was traumatic, carrying the baby was traumatic, maybe the child, the unborn child at the time had some complications, and that spikes anxiety, as we know. So now the mom has complications because you can't get the mom stable or balanced to a balanced state. That bleeds over to the baby, right? And so then you go into, giving birth, whether it's premature birth because of the state of the mom and the baby or what have you. It all was just trauma. And so that led to depression, that led to high anxiety, that led to maybe, eating disorder, so on and so forth. And so I'm glad you brought that up because I do actually see a lot of clients who children may be 4 or 5 years, their babies are 5, and yet they still haven't been able to bounce back. I was listening not too long ago to a panel of doulas and how we have to get back to support. We are a tribal people, right? Let's just be clear. And so we're all about love and support. And so one of the doulas was able to successfully walk the audience through, hey, you want to entertain a doula. Why? Because, whether they look like you or not, they are all for you. They are all for you. And again, all of the plan can be altered if need be. But one thing that really stood out was the trauma from taking a mother out of her comfort zone, rush her to an institution to where she's not sure if she or the baby is going to make it out. You've got strangers all around them. There's a lot of static happening in the atmosphere, which adds more anxiety, right? And so then you have this you're having to undergo, you're forcing your body to be in a state that is not calm, that's not at a stable state, that is not at a balanced state, right? So now that
Mm-hmm.
plays a part not only on your body, mental, your body, all of it together. And then again, for you to still not be in the comfort of your own home, to be pushed out of an institution within 24 hours and say, be free. Now go
Right.
be a mom and go be great. How do you handle that? What would you say? Again, I see it on my end, and I know, the great thing about our service is that we too customize different plans for different individuals. We want to hear their story first, right? We want to understand, how did you get here? And then, of course, we customize the right plan for them, because everyone is different. I don't care. Everybody, 3 people may have experienced anxiety, but how did the anxiety come about? All could be 3
Mm-hmm.
different stories, right? So, talk to me. Have you run into any families that have undergone such a traumatic experience, but yet they love family and they're looking to add another addition? Have you dealt with families that have undergone traumatic experiences from an institution and now have made a decision to incorporate a doula on the next addition to their family? How do you walk them through what they once experienced to now entertaining a doula for the next experience?
So that is where a lot of mothers are now due to the pandemic. They are being educated and rethinking about maybe the first or second time they gave birth, what they liked, what they didn't like. And that is because women are talking more. We are a tribal people, and there is a shift to getting back to taking care of women postpartum. And for a long time, postpartum was just 12 weeks. You gave birth, you were home 12 weeks, you're back to work, back to doing what you needed to, life goes on. But now doulas are coming in saying that's not working for women anymore. Postpartum is really a year. You are considered postpartum for 1 year post birth. And there are many, many changes that a woman goes through in that year. Hormonally, emotionally, mentally, there's a new identity formation that happens, especially for first time mothers trying to conjoin the identity of mother and self. That takes um, time to integrate. And it is not just, hey, I've given birth, I go back to work. There is an encouragement from postpartum doulas to take your time and allow a community, allow a tribe to assist you. A postpartum doula will come in and yes, she will assist you in household tasks, feedings, even just watching the baby so you can take a shower. But that support to let you know that even though your partner may have to go to work, there's somebody there, like you keep saying, just for you. That added support postpartum assists a lot of women in that whole postpartum journey. Number 2 is not just 12 weeks, 3 months. It's a minimum of a year. As you can see, you're seeing women with 4 and 5-year-olds, but you have to ask, how did that first year post birth go? How did you acclimate your life, with a newborn? Then, you have a child that's sitting up and becoming more independent. So yeah, the postpartum journey is a year, and women are now being encouraged to say, I need help. They're taking the S off their chest and they're saying, hey, I need some help. I need some assistance. I need to call my tribe in. And the postpartum doula is a part of that tribe. She will come in and sit with you. She will listen to you. She will assist you with breastfeeding. For those who have never taken on breastfeeding, that is a job by itself. To nourish and feed your child for a year. Some women exclusively breastfeed, and that means only breast milk. And then they would transition to solid food. So that's exclusive breastfeeding. There are women who have twins and do tandem breastfeeding. The encouragement, the support goes a long way to have someone, another woman there, or just another person, because again, men are, they're coming into the space and they're assisting women postpartum too. So it's destigmatizing a lot, re-educating people on the postpartum period. It's not just 6 weeks or 6 months. It takes a minimum of a year to um, form a new identity, is not feel like her old self, is discover who she is now. As a mother, the first, second, third time go, everyone knows that all pregnancies are different, all mothering stages are different for each child. And then involving now trauma in birth, we know that the research is showing that there is medical biases based on skin color. Black women aren't treated the same in childbirth like other women. Our pain tolerance level is discounted. We are given the options for pain medicine or epidurals at the very last moment when it is not medically able to have it. Sometimes our pain is discounted. Sometimes we're telling them, no, I'm in labor, and they tell us to go home, come back, you're not in labor. And then we're risking giving birth on the bathroom floor in the car when no one is listening to us. If a doula's there, the doula's like, hey, no, I've been with my mother, I know what this is, I've had enough experience to know she's in labor, it's time for her to come in. But things are changing, and they're changing for the better. I see a lot of things happening. There's a lot more discussion about trauma in childbirth. You can have a traumatic childbirth and come out with post-traumatic stress disorder from it, which can endanger you enlarging your family. You may desire to have more children, but there are some women petrified to get pregnant and give birth again due to what happened before. But the continuous support of a doula can assist you in that. Also connecting you with services that you may need outside of her scope. Again, you're not considered a medical professional. You're just a part of the tribe. And I like what you said with that. You're a part of the tribe that comes in, and you're there from day one to the very end. Doulas just don't stop being your doula. We check in 6 months, a year, 2 years. Hey, how are you? How are you and the baby doing? We all know as children grow, so do mothers. The mothering grows, the mothering changes due to the needs of the child. But we can't, forget about the mothers, and that's the biggest push that I see. That we're extending the postpartum period like other cultures do. Other cultures know how important the postpartum period is, and they treat their mothers with reverence. But in industrious societies, the snapback is all the rage, and getting back to work, and getting back out there like nothing ever happened, when that is so not true. Giving birth changes a woman's life every time she does it. It is the closest she comes to death. And the ability to, like you say, go in and give birth and come home safely, we should not take that for granted, because that is not the outcome for every birth. Again, the World Health Organization reported that over 800 women die a day giving birth. That's during birth and postpartum. That's 810 women. And those women, majority of them look like us. No woman should give birth without a doula. If that's the only thing you remember, no woman should give birth without a doula, ever, ever, ever. Especially
So
Black and brown women.
Yeah, let me ask you this quick question. So look, I don't mind being transparent. So my youngest is getting of an age to where we were asked to attend a puberty party. And I actually think that it was great, because it allowed a network of young girls who go to the same school, who's been knowing each other for years, to understand it together, ask questions together in a safe place, to learn about themselves, and also to create such a safe network to where if you're at school and it happens, right, you can go to that friend that attended the party with you and say, hey, my kid doesn't have this. Do you have that? Can I, what have you? And so if there are parents out here that are considering a puberty party, how early do you think young girls or families or even boys should understand how important a doula is to a family? We put a lot of focus on self, but again, the word tribe and community is so important to our culture. And, you know, we can unpack this all day. And I do believe we have to have a part two with the doctor, because it just runs so deep. There's so much information. There's so much to unpack. But I have to believe that just as much as I received an invitation to this puberty party, okay, puberty means something, right? That means another level. So that also means your body is evolving and preparing for something else. How important and or how soon do you think young girls should be introduced to the importance of a doula?
I think it will come from maybe hearing older or those women who are preparing to give birth to normalize the doula being around, to normalize, to make this the same way that she has appointments with her OBGYN. She talks about the appointments with the doula. Oh, my doula is coming over. You know, and when the conversation is normal in a family, then it's just an unknown thing that when I prepare to give birth, I'm going to have a doula too, because my cousin had one, my mom had one. We now know that children are older siblings, because there is such a thing called a sibling doula. Siblings are invited to be a part of the birth of their new sibling. So just as we are inviting siblings to be a part of the birth, so you know, they can see a doula in action. And so I feel as if when we normalize these things, when it just becomes second nature, that in addition to your OBGYN and your labor and delivery nurse, your doula is there. It's normal, you know, and no woman should not have access to one, you know, just because she's in a certain age, race, socioeconomic class. The doula should be accessible to all. And that's, you know, the more access that young mothers or teenagers or even older women have access to doulas, it will become normal, and it will be a tradition that's passed on. And it will just be an unspoken thing that a doula is considered a part of my birth team and my birth story. So I feel like when it becomes a normal conversation, just like it's a normal conversation to have a baby shower. It's just normal. It's unspoken. So when is your baby shower? Same conversation. So who's your doula? It will just be second nature, like we discuss everything else. And so I feel that comes from just being the example, from, you know, just being the example, normalizing it in your family. Like you say, if you know someone, introduce them to the idea. Maybe they're just unaware of what a doula is and what do they provide. And so you introduce it to one who will introduce it to another. That's how a lot of doulas, you know, receive clients. Hey, I had a great one. Shout out to Lavondra Williams. She's here in the DFW. She was my doula. I was a doula who had a doula at my birth. And so, you know, the word gets passed on. And so I believe when the word gets passed on, the traditions get passed on. And we are returning to a lot of cultural practices that we had before. You know, there are a lot of cultural things that I'm starting to see are returning to. And I believe the returning to will also include doulas and midwives. And births will not be so medically ran as they have been in the past. I think we're going to move more or return to our cultural practices when it comes to birth. Because many women are giving birth unassisted now. An unassisted birth is with no medical intervention, no medical doctor, just her and her partner. A lot of women are choosing that option, and I'm doing it safely. And so they're debunking the idea that you have to give birth in a hospital. Because years and years ago, women gave birth out in cotton fields or in shacks. And women are returning to the unassisted birth. And there are doulas that will support you in an unassisted birth also. There's a doula for everything. Again, you should not give birth without one. I'll say that over and over again.
Guys, there's a doula for everything. Did y'all hear that? There's a
Mm-hmm.
doula for everything. And I can just imagine, and you touched on it briefly at the beginning of the show, the different types of doulas. But what I want to go back to is you said yourself you had a doula. Now I have to ask you, doctor, was that normal? Was that a norm in your upbringing to recognize a doula when it's time to expand your family, right? Because you too had a doula. So was that a common practice? Did you already know that at whatever age you made this decision that you were gonna have a doula part of the experience? And or did someone recommended to you, and then you started entertaining the thought, and then because you're listen, guys. Again, I'm partial to the doctor, okay, but she has a beautiful son. Oh my gosh, he is gorgeous, and I know y'all may slap my hand. Chi, you shouldn't call a little boy gorgeous, but let me tell you, the spirit in which resides in him, and of course, having a wonderful mother and a wonderful dad. I'm just telling you, his spirit alone just lights up the room.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
when I see that you're healthy, Leilani, and I see that Silver is healthy, and it was all because you had a doula part of your process.
Mm-hmm.
I just, was that your norm? Did you know that you were going to incorporate a doula, or was it a referral? Were you at a crossroads yourself? Like help the listeners understand. You had one and then you became one, or however it worked. I don't know.
So I became a doula first. So my story started when I was 14. I assisted my cousin in giving birth, and it was because she was um, at home, and I opted to stay with her, and she went into labor. She was my first birth, and he actually had his first son. So I tell everyone, my first client just gave birth to his first child. Shout out to Chauncey. His name is Chauncey. So I think I was 14, and after that, I just knew this is what I wanted to do. I didn't know the term doula, but at 14, I was right there when my cousin gave birth. And then I was there when my friend gave birth. And then I was there when my other cousin gave birth. And I just had a knack for it, for the continuous support and encouragement. Even my mother was like, "You really, really have a knack for this." I do. I became certified as a doula in 2018, and I had my son the following year. So when I became certified, I knew from that point I was not giving birth without one. She came as a referral. I asked around. I posted it on social media. I interviewed maybe two or three. She was the one that I clicked with. And I encourage all my mothers to interview a doula and find the one that fits you. She fit for me. She was well aware that I was a doula. So education wise, yes, I knew about the stages of childbirth and all those things. But the support that she provided to me made all the difference during my labor story. I could not give you one horror story about my entire labor. It was great from beginning to end. And that was because I had a doula. I had someone there encouraging me through the contractions, through the pain. And she stayed with me until almost the next day. She was there from the time I called her, say, "Hey, I'm headed to the hospital." When I was in postpartum, when we did latching, she was there the entire time. She never left. She did follow up, she did check-ins. So, although I wasn't certified until 2018, I knew I was not giving birth without someone to assist me.
Wow,
But I'd been doing it since I was 14.
that is
And he is
amazing.
now 30. So my
Oh wow,
first doula client is 30.
happy and healthy.
Yes. And he now has a son.
Wow. Guys, look, this is just juicy. Okay, it's juicy. The doc has to come back. Will you come back for us, doc? Can we do another
Sure.
part? Oh my God.
Sure.
It's it's things that I know, and it's things that I've learned tonight. It's things I'm going to be sharing with my community if I know I've got younger cousins, heck, I've got younger siblings who are going to expand their family. I know it to be true. Some of it is on the horizon. So, I have to share with them the additional information I received tonight, because again, it's all in the teaching. And I do believe, guys, those you are tuning in, I would say, search your local cities, search, your county, search your state, find the doulas in your area, educate yourself, go to some free webinars, go sit in on a class, learn as much as you can learn, because it's all about education. Again, we said it earlier, my people perish because of lack of knowledge. And I honestly feel that if we just had more information about the doula community and bridging it with the midwives and bridging it with counselors, and bridging it with a holistic lifestyle and bridging it with natural remedies and bridging it and bridging it and bridging it, we will create such a support system and such a healthy support system that we won't see so many deficits in the community as we've been seeing. And so really quickly, I want to make sure that people know how to contact you, because we're going to have you back. But I want to be able to hear some success stories that after people tune into the show, that they reach out to the good doc, to Dr. Lelani Grant, and they got some information or they signed up for your services. So tell the people, how can they reach you, your social media handles, your website, and then maybe even tell us, because I saw on your website you do have a couple of packages. So, what would you want the people to know that you can offer right off the bat really quickly before we end tonight's broadcast?
Sure. So you can find me across all social media platforms. First, my website, Silver Linings. It's named after my son, Silver. And that's SILVERLININGS, Silver Linings Birth and Doula Services. On Facebook, you can find me, Silver Linings BDS. On Instagram, The Good Doula. And that's 1D, GOODOULA. Find me, reach out to me. My phone number is listed on there. All my packages are listed on there. I'm also moving into birth supplies. I have birth tub rentals, whatever it is that you need to have your home birth or birth center birth, please reach out to me. Follow me on all social media platforms. I look forward to speaking with you guys here on the Chi Show again. It was a great pleasure to have this information. Shout out to my Saras, Keisha and Tamika, supporting me from the Centennial line of the Kappa Zeta chapter of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated.
Awesome. You guys, thank you all so much for tuning in. Enjoy your night. Stay balanced, guys. Stay balanced. Love ya.
She's sugary, she's spice. She is everything plus nice. Take her one-on-one class and she provides the best advice. She'll take you down to the trenches, but only to lead a new way. Only for the sake of you and your legacy, to establish a new day. Let's give a warm welcome to the Chief Reprimand and the Supreme Hugger, Chi Smith.